Democrats are ramping up pressure like never before, demanding that President Trump and his entire cabinet either step down or be removed from office. And I mean full-scale escalation. We're talking calls for resignations, targeting the defense secretary, the intelligence chiefs, the homeland security secretary, and even the president himself. Some lawmakers are openly pushing for impeachment. Others are invoking the 25th Amendment. The drumbeat of resign or be removed is growing louder by the day. Let's be clear about what's actually happening versus what hasn't happened yet. Congress has not passed a formal resolution requiring the entire administration to resign. There's no binding order from both chambers forcing anyone out. What's unfolding instead is a coordinated campaign of resignation demands aimed at specific officials over particular controversies. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, for example, is facing calls to resign after leaked military communications raised serious security concerns. Intelligence officials, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and FBI Director Kash Patel are also being targeted. Critics argue that their loyalty to Trump may have been prioritized over competence, potentially putting national security at risk. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is under fire as well, accused of excessive force in immigration enforcement. And for Trump himself, the pressure is dual impeachment proceedings and 25th Amendment removal are being proposed. This is not just partisan criticism, it's a multi-pronged assault on the administration. Individual cabinet members are being held accountable for specific failures, while Trump is being challenged on overall unfitness and abuse of power. The combination is putting the entire administration under siege. Consider the implications. When your defense secretary is being pressured to resign, your intelligence chiefs are under scrutiny, your homeland security head is facing removal calls, and the president himself is threatened with impeachment and the 25th Amendment. That's not normal politics. That's a significant portion of Congress signaling that the government's current leadership is illegitimate. Trump's response has been consistent, flat refusal. He's not resigning, and no one in his cabinet will be removed on his watch. His stance is essentially, we're staying, and if you want us out, you'll have to vote us out. And that's exactly what Democrats are positioning themselves to do if they win in 2026. The resignation demands and removal calls are building the political justification for why Democrats need power to enforce accountability. Let's break down the cabinet members under pressure. Starting with national security, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is facing calls to resign following leaked signal chats about military operations. These leaks raised red flags for Democrats, highlighting poor judgment, security lapses, and a lack of control over sensitive communications. Intelligence chiefs Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, and Kash Patel are being scrutinized for prioritizing loyalty over competence, a dangerous combination for officials entrusted with the nation's security. Media outlets reported that the resignation demands were triggered specifically by these leaks, emphasizing that anyone who cannot safeguard critical military information should not hold such a position. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is under fire for alleged excessive force in immigration enforcement. Reports describe ICE operations that escalated unnecessarily, sometimes resulting in violence. Democrats view Noem as enabling human rights abuses through overly aggressive enforcement and have called for her resignation on that basis. Coverage from Politico and other outlets confirms that floor speeches and resolutions have targeted Noem specifically for these enforcement issues. So you have targeted accountability. Hegseth for national security failures, intelligence chiefs for loyalty versus competence, and Noem for aggressive immigration enforcement. Each official is being called to answer for their specific role. Then there's Trump himself. Democrats aren't just seeking individual resignations. They want the president removed. Representative Al Green and others have filed HRES 353 and related articles, citing abuse of power in the Venezuela operation, threats to lawmakers and judges, and the weaponization of federal agencies to intimidate opponents. These resolutions are already on record, and at least 140 House members have indicated they would vote to advance impeachment if given the chance. The infrastructure is in place, the charges are drafted, and the votes are building. Beyond impeachment, there are 25th Amendment calls. Senator Ed Markey, Representative Ansari, and Representative Kamliger-Dove have all publicly declared that Trump is unfit for office. They cite the Greenland obsession, leaked messages showing reckless decisions, and the Venezuela operation as evidence of mental incapacity. Members of Congress are effectively saying that the president's behavior demonstrates an inability to fulfill his duties. Of course, the 25th Amendment route is highly unlikely, but the fact that sitting lawmakers are calling for it underscores the unprecedented intensity of this pressure campaign. So, the 25th Amendment route is, honestly, highly unlikely. It would require Vice President Vance and a majority of the cabinet to declare Trump unable to serve. And if Trump contests it, then it would take 2/3 of both the House and Senate to enforce. That's just, well, simply not happening. Vance is loyal. The cabinet are Trump appointees. And Republicans control Congress. But, the political significance here is still huge. Lawmakers are publicly putting their names on calls for Trump's removal based on unfitness. When you combine that with these targeted resignation demands against his cabinet, it really paints a clear picture. Democrats are signaling that this entire administration is illegitimate and needs to go, not eventually through elections, but right now through resignation, impeachment, or the 25th Amendment. That's honestly unprecedented. Sure, presidents have faced impeachment before, and yeah, individual officials have resigned under pressure. But a coordinated campaign targeting both the president and multiple cabinet members at the same time, that's new. It shows just how seriously Democrats view the threat posed by Trump's administration. They're not just saying, we disagree with your policies. They're saying you and your team are fundamentally unfit to govern and need to be removed immediately. So why do these demands matter, even though Congress hasn't successfully voted anyone out yet? Political pressure has real consequences, even without formal votes. First, it puts the entire administration under scrutiny. When your defense secretary, intelligence chiefs, and homeland security secretary are all facing calls to resign, it creates an environment where officials feel vulnerable. They start calculating whether staying with Trump is worth the damage to their reputations. They start thinking about whether they want to be associated with an administration labeled illegitimate by Congress. That can affect decision-making. Officials may hesitate to follow Trump's most aggressive orders or distance themselves from controversial policies to protect their positions. Second, these demands are strategic. Democrats aren't just criticizing the administration in general, they're targeting specific officials for specific failures. That's harder to dismiss as partisan noise. Pete Hegseth is being called out over leaked signal chats. Kristi Noem is being held accountable for excessive use of force. These are tangible, documented concerns. Third, it builds the case for why Democrats need power in 2026. Every refusal to resign becomes proof that Republicans won't hold Trump accountable. Every time Trump refuses to remove a criticized official, it just reinforces the argument that only Democratic control can enforce accountability. We asked for resignations. We gave them a chance. They refused. Now we need power to act. That's a strong campaign narrative. Fourth, Trump's refusal and his team's refusal make impeachment appear more legitimate. Democrats can argue they tried voluntary accountability first. Impeachment then becomes a last resort, not partisan overreach. Fifth, it opens the door for Republicans to break with Trump selectively. A GOP senator concerned about Hegseth's security mishandling can call for his resignation without fully opposing Trump. A Republican representative troubled by Noem's immigration policies can demand accountability without supporting impeachment. These small cracks can widen over time. Here's what's happening next. Trump and his officials continue to refuse resignations. Democrats continue to escalate pressure. More floor speeches, more resolutions, more impeachment articles, more 25th Amendment calls. Everything is building toward 2026, where voters will decide whether Democrats have the power to force resignations and removals, or whether Republicans continue shielding Trump's team. Democrats are making their strategy crystal clear. If they win, there will be immediate impeachment proceedings, confirmation battles over nominees, and investigations into officials who refuse to step down. Trump won't resign, his officials won't resign, and Democrats are documenting every refusal as evidence of why they need the authority to enforce accountability. The drumbeat is growing. Defense officials, intelligence chiefs, homeland security, and Trump himself, all under demands to step down or be forced out. Congress hasn't yet voted to remove anyone, but the political infrastructure is being built. Public pressure is mounting, and November 2026 will determine whether those demands finally result in action, whether Democrats get the power to impeach Trump, block his nominees, and enforce accountability across the administration. Trump refuses. His team refuses. Democrats are preparing to hold them all accountable, if voters give them the power to do it. The entire cabinet is under siege. The president is under siege. And the question now is, will this pressure finally break them? Or will Republicans successfully protect Trump and his team for 2 more years?